Most financial plans don't fail in the first week. They fail around month 6. Not immediately, not dramatically, just slowly. At the beginning, everything feels different. You're motivated. You've made a plan. You start budgeting. Maybe you open an investment account. For a few weeks, it feels like you're finally getting your life together. Then something subtle happens. Work gets busy. Life gets complicated. Expenses creep in. The tracking stops. And before you even notice it, the plan quietly disappears. Not because you're irresponsible, not because you don't care about money, but because the plan relied on something extremely fragile: motivation. And motivation was never meant to carry a financial life. Most people believe financial success is about discipline, or knowledge, or willpower. They think if they just read the right books, watch the right videos, or find the perfect strategy, everything will finally click. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people already know what they should do. Spend less than you earn. Save consistently. Invest for the long term. These ideas aren't complicated. The real challenge is doing them repeatedly, for years. That's where most financial plans collapse, because the plan is designed for a motivated version of you, not the tired version, not the stressed version, not the distracted version, the version of you who exists most of the time. And this is where behavior quietly beats motivation, every single time. If you look at behavior patterns in almost anything: dieting, exercising, learning a language, you'll notice something interesting. There's usually a drop-off point, a moment when the excitement fades and reality takes over. For financial plans, that moment often happens around 6 months. Why? Because the emotional fuel runs out. At the beginning, the plan feels exciting. You're imagining the future version of your life. No debt, growing investments, financial freedom. Your brain loves that vision. But over time, something frustrating happens. The results are slow, painfully slow. You might save $300 this month, $400 the next. Your investment account grows, but not dramatically. Meanwhile, life keeps presenting immediate temptations. A new phone, a trip with friends, convenience services that make life easier. The brain starts asking a quiet question: is this really worth it? And that question is powerful, because humans are wired for short-term rewards, not long-term patience. Here's something most financial advice ignores. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions fluctuate. Think about the last time you felt highly motivated. Maybe it was the beginning of a new year. Maybe after watching an inspiring video. In that moment, you felt energized. You created a plan. You told yourself, this time, I'm going to stick to it. But motivation is like caffeine. It spikes, then it fades. You cannot build a 30-year financial life on a temporary emotion. That's like trying to power a city with lightning. It looks impressive, but it disappears almost immediately. And when motivation fades, behavior returns to its default pattern. Whatever feels normal. Here's something subtle most people never notice. Your financial life already has a default system. You didn't design it intentionally, but it exists. Your spending habits, your subscription services, your lifestyle expectations, all of these operate automatically. So when someone creates a financial plan, they're trying to fight an existing system. And that system is powerful because habits run on autopilot. Imagine two forces pulling in opposite directions. On one side, motivation. On the other side, habit. Motivation is loud, but temporary. Habits are quiet, but persistent. Over time, persistence wins. Every time. Why plans fail around 6 months? Most financial plans unintentionally create friction. They ask you to track every expense, log into spreadsheets, manually move money. Think about every financial decision. At the beginning, that feels manageable. But over time, it becomes exhausting because every small decision uses mental energy. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the harder each additional one becomes. By the time you're deciding whether to cook at home or order delivery, your brain is already tired. And tired brains choose convenience. Almost every time. So slowly, the system breaks down. You skip one expense entry, then another. Then the budget stops being updated. And once the feedback loop disappears, the plan quietly collapses. The real difference: systems versus intentions. People who succeed financially often look extremely disciplined from the outside. But what they actually have isn't extreme discipline. It's systems. Their savings are automatic. Their investments are automatic. Their bills are automatic. Money moves before they even think about it, which means their financial progress doesn't rely on daily motivation. It runs quietly in the background, like a subscription. Except the subscription is building their future. And this is the psychological shift most people never make. They try to control behavior manually, instead of designing an environment where the right behavior happens automatically. A simple example. Let's say someone wants to save $500 every month. There are two ways to approach this. The first way relies on motivation. Every month they look at their account. They decide whether they can afford to save. They manually transfer money. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Now imagine a different system. The moment their paycheck arrives, $500 automatically moves into a separate investment account. No decision, no hesitation, no internal debate, just movement. The behavior becomes invisible, and invisible systems are powerful because they remove friction. Another reason financial plans fail is something I call lifestyle drift. It doesn't happen dramatically. It happens quietly. You start ordering food a little more often. A few new subscriptions appear. Transportation becomes slightly more convenient. None of these decisions feel big, but collectively they change your financial baseline. Suddenly, the plan you created 6 months ago doesn't fit your current lifestyle. So, instead of adjusting the system, people abandon the plan entirely. Not because the math stopped working, but because the behavior changed. What actually works? If motivation isn't reliable, what is? Behavior design. Instead of asking, how can I stay motivated? A better question is, how can I make the right behavior easier than the wrong one? That shift changes everything. For example, investing automatically every month, keeping spending accounts separate from savings accounts, reducing financial decisions you need to make daily. The less thinking required, the more consistent behavior becomes. And consistency is where financial progress actually comes from. Not intensity, not bursts of motivation. Consistency. Here's the strange thing about money. The first 6 months barely matter financially, but they matter enormously psychologically, because those months determine whether the behavior sticks. Think about investing. The biggest driver of wealth isn't one great year. It's decades of small contributions. Month after month, year after year. But the only way that happens is if the behavior survives long enough. And that's why motivation is the wrong foundation, because motivation fades long before wealth compounds. If your financial plan fell apart after 6 months, you're not the exception. You're the norm. It happens to almost everyone. Not because people are lazy, not because they lack intelligence, but because most plans are built on motivation instead of behavior. And motivation was never designed to last. So, maybe the real goal isn't creating a perfect financial plan. Maybe the real goal is creating a system that works, even when you don't feel motivated, even when life gets busy, even when you stop thinking about money entirely. Because when the behavior becomes automatic, progress stops, depending on how you feel. And that's the moment a financial plan stops being temporary and starts becoming a life system.